بالعالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق أجمعين محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We are on the subject of fiqh, the practical laws, and we discussed previously about the mutahhiraat, how najis thing will be tahir by what thing. We discussed about the water, how to clean things and other details, and we come to number 4, issue 196, the subject of transformation or istihala. Istihala said if a najis thing undergoes such a change that it assumes the category of a tahir thing, it becomes tahir. Actually, istihala or transformation, they give an example. If a piece of wood is najis and you burn it and become ash. Now ash is not the same as wood. Wood has been changed, transformed into ash, so it will be tahir. We don't say the ash is najis because originally it was from the wood and the wood was najis. Well, here another issue comes about soap. The usual soap we are using, the solid one, not the liquid one. Originally it is made from talau, and talau is the pig's fat. Pig's fat is treated chemically and it will transform by a process of saponification into soap which is used. Well, is it regarded as istihala or transformation like this subject or not? Well, again, some of the ulama said yes, some of the ulama said no, because it has not been transformed actually. The transformation, something should change completely to another thing. Here is the chemical process which was made, and by chemical process, saponification happens, and it is a reversible process. You can reverse the soap to return it back into fat, that is possible. Some said, ulama, yes, some said no. Again, that is an issue to be discussed. Of course, they said the soap, not 100% of the fat will undergo saponification, but 5% will remain because they need to give a soft feeling for the skin. If it all to be soap, then it will be astringent to the skin. So they keep 5% of the fat there to be a little gentle to the skin. So however, about the soap, if it is not used, let us say from vegetable fat like coconut soap or olive oil soap or similar things, then might be the soap regarded by the marja as najis, and you can wash your hand, but then you have to, after washing with the soap and removing soap, you have to make it tahir, clean it and additionally. But here he gave example about the wood which is najis. When it transformed completely to another thing which is ash, then it will be tahir. Well, issue 197, if an earthenware which is made of najis clay is najis, but coal derived from najis wood will be tahir. No, the clay, if it is najis, when you make it, give it a shape and become earthenware, that is not tahir, because there is no transformation here. You change the shape only. But in a mine of coal, if that is used later on to make wood of it, then he said that is transformation. These are some examples of transformation which are given here. Well, again, issue 198, a najis thing about which it is not known whether it has undergone any transformation or not, remains najis. The general rule, if something is najis, will remain najis unless you are sure it has been made tahir. So that is about the transformation or istihala. There is another subject called change or inqilab. Here they discuss about the liquor or alcohol or wine which is changed into vinegar. Usually they used to put in a earthenware and they close it completely. They put date with water and keep it for 40 days. It will ferment, and on the day 35, 36 it changed to alcohol, and on day 37, 38 it will change into vinegar. After 40 days, because there is no oxygen, the chemical reactions will change it to alcohol and will change the alcohol into vinegar. Now, is that najis or not? He said, no, here there is inqilab. There is a change of alcohol into vinegar. Not only the alcohol, the vinegar itself is tahir, but even the pot itself from inside, naturally when it was touched by alcohol, the wall was najis. But now he said even the wall which was najis become tahir about it. So that are the examples of change which is given here. Wine which is prepared from najis grapes, etc., if any external najasa treats it, would not become tahir if it turns into vinegar. He said if the wine was made from najis grape, then it is najis, or najasat from externally has come to the wine. Let us say somebody's hand was najis because of urine or other thing, and he put it on the wine. So the wine originally was najis and become mutanajjis as well. So now when the wine is changing into vinegar, will not be tahir because it was mutanajjis. So that is not the issue about it. Issue 201, vinegar which is prepared from najis grapes, raisin and dates, again is najis because these things were originally najis. Issue 202, if tiny stems and stalks from grapes or dates are added and then vinegar is poured over it, or if cucumber and brinjal is added before it turns into vinegar, there will be no harm. I mean, what you want to say, if additional food is added and that ultimately change to vinegar, he said there is no harm, except if it becomes an intoxicant before becoming vinegar. If these things become intoxicant, that is something else, otherwise no harm of it. Now here, issue about the juice of grape, 203, which is mentioned and has many practical applications. He said, if the juice of grapes ferments by itself or when heated, it becomes haram. A grape, will change easily into alcohol, into wine. So if you put grape juice on hot weather, it may ferment, or if it put in sunlight, it may ferment and become change into wine. So here he said, is not discussing it will be najis. He said it will be haram to drink, but is not mentioning that it is najis here. Some ulama said it will be najis and haram to drink, but here according to Ayatullah Al-Sistani said it is haram to drink but not najis, not mentioning about najasat. However, if it boils so much that only 1/3 part of it is left, it becomes halal. Usually if people have that problem, they boil it. If 2/3 is been evaporated and 1/3 remains, then it become tahir. So in such cases, when a grape juice becomes fermented and become haram to drink, then they have to boil it so much that 2/3 of the liquid or the water of it will go, and if 1/3 remains, then it will be tahir. That is the issue. And he said, and it has already been mentioned in the rule 114, that the juice of a grapes does not become najis on fermentation. It is haram to drink, but is not najis. Issue 204, if 2/3 of the grape juice gets reduced without fermentation and the remainder ferments, and if it is commonly held as grape juice and not as syrup, it will be haram as an obligatory precaution. Now, if you leave it in the kitchen, then the water will gradually, without even boiling, it will evaporate gradually, so 2/3 of it will go. But if 1/3 which remained, again, that also ferment. He said, well, this is a new fermentation and it is najis. Well, issue 205, the juice of grapes about which it is not known whether fermentation has taken place or not is tahir, but if it ferments, then it will not be halal till 2/3 of it is gone. You know, if we have doubt it has ferment or not, again the general rule said you don't care for the doubt. You said, well, it may not have ferment and it is tahir, but if it ferments, then you have to boil it till 2/3 of it will go and 1/3 remains to make it tahir. Well, the other issues here are about it, which are, easy to know, is all related to this subject. We come to the number 6, transfer or intiqal, transferring from one place to another place. What are the examples here? He said, if the blood, issue 210, if the blood of a human being or an animal whose blood gushes forth when its large vein is cut, is sucked by an insect normally known to be bloodless, and it becomes part of its body, the blood becomes tahir. This process is called intiqal. You know, it happens practically when a mosquito come and bite the person and suck blood of the person. Now, if you kill the mosquito right away, there is blood coming out, and that blood in the mosquito's stomach is the human blood, the same human blood. So that is najis. There is no transfer here. But if the mosquito sucks the blood and that blood is digested and become part of the mosquito's blood, and then you kill the mosquito, naturally sometimes there is blood of the mosquito. Is that blood is najis? He said no, because the human being, blood has been transferred completely to the mosquito's blood. So now become part of mosquito, and we said mosquito because it does not have a blood which gush out while slaughtering it, then its blood is tahir. This is the issue, practically that is the application for it. Well, some people used to use worms or leashes they put in the nose. It will suck human blood, and they think it has some medical benefits, will reduce certain infections or will increase blood circulation and has benefits. This is used by many people. I have seen them, and they relate to that so many benefits from medical point of view. So you give example for that. You say, if that blood-sucking leash sucks human blood during some treatment, it will be najis because it is not considered as part of its body. It will not change as part of the body of the worm. It will be human blood itself. Issue 211, if one kills a mosquito which has sat on one's body and the blood which it has sucked comes out, it will be considered tahir as it was destined to be its part, part of the mosquito, even if the time gap between its sucking and its being killed be very small. However, as a recommended precaution, one should avoid such blood. If it is regarded as blood of the mosquito, then it is tahir, even only short period has passed, but well, he said as a recommended precaution should be avoided. Now we come to number 7, Islam. If an unbeliever testifies oneness of Allah and the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in whatever language whether Arabic or English or French or any language, he becomes a Muslim. And just as he was najis before, he becomes tahir after becoming a Muslim. And his body, along with the saliva and the sweat, is tahir. So here, again, the non-believer was najis, his body was najis, his saliva, sweat was najis, and what made him tahir, not by washing with water, only by changing to Islam, and he testifies that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah. So by saying that, all his body will be tahir. But he said, if in his body there are original najasat like urine or stool, naturally that is najis and has to be washed. Issue 213, if before an unbeliever becomes a Muslim, his wet dress touched his body, as an obligatory precaution it should be avoided, regardless of whether it is on his body or not. Before he becoming Muslim, he had sweat and his cloth was najis. And then his cloth again contaminated his body. He said, well, then has to be avoided and he has to wash his body. Issue 214, if an unbeliever professes Islam, he will be tahir, even if another person is not sure whether he has embraced Islam sincerely or not. And the same order applies even if it is known that he has not sincerely accepted Islam, but his words or deeds do not betray anything which may be contrary to the confirmation by him of the oneness of Allah and of Prophet Muhammad being Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes as a practical problem, you see some people, for sake of marriage or for sake of financial gain or for any other benefit, they come to a Muslim and they say, well, I am become a Muslim and I embrace Islam. Now, we may doubt whether they embraced Islam sincerely or not. He said that is not our business. If he says that I am a Muslim, our doubt has no value. We don't know his heart. Maybe our doubt is not right, and between him and God, then he is declaring himself as a Muslim. Also, in such a case, if somebody claim to be a Muslim and he do not declare anything against Islam or do not practice anything against Islam, we cannot say that, well, I know in his heart he came to Islam because of material benefit or material gain and so on. So no, that is not our business. We regard him as a Muslim and he is tahir from the taharat and najasat point of view. Number 8, subjection or tabi'iyya. Issue 215, tabi'iyyat means that a najis thing becomes tahir in subjection of another thing becoming tahir. I will give example in 216. When a wine is transformed into vinegar, its container up to the level of wine reached on account of fermentation will be tahir. So the one which has been transformed was the wine become vinegar, but the wall of the container has not transformed, but you say it is in subjection to the wine because it was najis by the wine. When the wine become vinegar, then it will be tahir right away. Why tahir? We have not washed it with water. It's a tahir by rule of subjection here. Well, issue 217, if a child of unbeliever will become tahir by tabi'iyya, by this law, by subjection, in two cases. First, if an unbeliever embraces Islam, his child in subjection to him becomes tahir. Similarly, if the mother, paternal grandfather or paternal grandmother of a child embrace Islam, the child will become tahir provided that it is in their custody and care. You see, the child of a non-Muslim well, he follow the rule of the non-Muslim. If the non-Muslim is not tahir, then the child is not tahir. Now, if his father or mother becomes Muslim, the child automatically will be a Muslim. So why? You say in subjection, because of this law. Not because we washed him or because he understood Islam. He may be a small child, he doesn't know Islam, but because now he is in custody of a Muslim, naturally that Muslim will take care of him and will wash him from any najasat, from urine, from stool, from blood, from taking haram meat and so on. So naturally will be washed, will be cleaned, and is regarded as tahir. Or well, if we say that taharat of the body is original, then naturally the child was following his parents. When his parents were non-believer, now he is following them as non-believer. So when they believed in Islam and become tahir, their child also become tahir. But suppose that the child is living with them, is in their custody. So that is one issue. The second one is if the child of an unbeliever is captured by Muslims and his father, paternal grandfather or maternal grandfather is not with him, he becomes tahir. In both cases, the child becomes tahir by subjection on the condition that if it has attained the age of understanding and discerning, it does not show inclination to kufr. You see, if a Muslim captured a non-Muslim child and there is no father, no mother, nobody is with him, and he lived with the Muslim as their slave, so it said again subjection here. But he said in both these two cases, suppose that if the child grows and become adult, he will not show an inclination toward non-believing in Islam, and he will not be non-believer because he lived in a Muslim environment. Well, it is supposedly to remain a Muslim like his parents or one of the parents. That is the issue about the Islam. Issue 218, the plank or a slab of a stone on which dead body is given ghusl, and the cloth with which, you see, when there is a dead body, the body of the deceased person is najis. But when they washed him ghusl, the ceremonial bath is done, his body will be tahir. But practically they put him on a table, and there are cloths to cover his private parts. So when they washed him, naturally the table will be contaminated, the cloth will be contaminated, najis. Now after washing him ceremonial bath, and they wash his head and neck and the right side and the left side with sidr, kafur and water, the details are there. Naturally after washing him in ceremonial bath, he will be tahir. So what about the stone or the floor which was contaminated? He said that also by subjection will be tahir. Or if there is a piece of cloth covered by him, they cover the private parts, again when he is washed, that piece of cloth will be tahir, not because it was washed, but by subjection. That is a tabi'iyya, because this will be the same like the deceased one. Issue 219, when a person washes something with water to make it tahir, his hands washed along with that thing will be tahir when the thing is tahir. You see, if I put water and wash it and then again wash it, naturally my right hand will be contaminated on the first run. But when second time, third time, and after removal of najasat, and last time, maybe first or second or maybe third, depends on type of najasat, when it's tahir again, the second hand will be tahir right away as tabi'iyya, subjection. Though it was contaminated first time, but then because the same washing is there, then that contamination will be tahir because of rule of subjection. Issue 220, if a cloth, etc., is washed with undercore water and is squeezed as usual, allowing water to flow off, the water which still remains in it is tahir. Well, again, whatever you squeeze, naturally some water will remain inside. We said the washed water should come out but you cannot take it out 100%. So when you squeeze it, whatever little water remained, let us say 10, 20, 30% water remained inside, that is tahir. Why is tahir? If it is najis and the washed water is najis, you say by subjection, because the cloth is become tahir after squeezing, so it will be tahir like the cloth. So again, it is rule of subjection. Issue 221. When a najis utensil is washed with undercore water, the small quantity of water left in it after spilling the water of final wash is tahir. Again, you have a container and you throw water in it and then throw it out and you say it will be tahir. Naturally, you cannot throw out all the water. Little drops will remain on the side, so that little drops are not regarded as najis. If you throw the water, the washed water, you throw it out, then whatever little water which remain on the container or the bottom, that little is regarded as tahir. It become tahir by subjection, because the container itself become tahir. You don't need that you have to dry it complete, that nothing is there. No, so if you throw the washed water out, whatever little remains, by subjection it is tahir. We come to another subject, that is removal of Najisul Ayn, the original impurity. In issue 222, if body of animal is slain with an Najisul Ayn, like blood or with something, if body of animal is stained with an Najisul Ayn, like blood or with something which has become najis, for example, najis water, its body become tahir when that najasat disappears. For animal, if the animal's body become najis, you don't need to wash it with water to be tahir. So if original impurity goes out of the body of the animal will be tahir. So if there is a blood on the wool of the goat, for example, there, and that blood goes out, you don't need to wash it with water, it will be tahir by itself. Or if najis water is thrown on it, and then that dried completely, then he said it will be tahir. Here, taharat is by removal of Najisul Ayn, original impurity. Similarly, the inner part of a human body, for example, inner parts of the mouth or nose or inner ears, becomes tahir after the najasat has disappeared. But the internal najasat, like the blood from the gums or the teeth, does not make inner mouth najis. Similarly, any external thing which is placed internally in the body does not become najis when it meets with the internal najasat. So if the dentures come in contact with the blood from other teeth, it does not require rinsing. Of course, if it contacts najis food, it must be made tahir with water. You see, the blood, urine or stool inside the body is not najis. When it comes out, it becomes najis. So now, if somebody put the brush inside the mouth and it touch some blood of the gum, but the blood is not there when it comes out, we said that it will not become najis, because we said inside is tahir. And if a blood from outside, my finger has a blood and I put it in the nose by mistake, or I put it inside the mouth become najis, because that is external blood, and external blood is najis. But when it is removed, then I don't need to wash it with water. I don't need, if removed from the mouth or from the nose, I don't need to wash it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, because I said become najis. No. By removing original impurity, it will be tahir. So the subject is removing original impurity. Which one? He said from the animal, removing original impurity will make it tahir. And inside the body, inside, let us say, the nose or the mouth, which is possible inside, If it gets najasat by removing original impurity, it be tahir. But if the blood from the mouth itself, from the gum itself, as long as it is inside, it is tahir. When it comes out, then it becomes najis. So if something from outside contacted, but when we take it out, there is no blood, then it is not najis. Issue 223. If a blood remains between the teeth and the blood emerges within the mouth, the food will not be najis, but it comes in contact, will not be najis if it comes in contact with that blood, because we say the blood inside the mouth, inside the body is tahir. So if there is a blood and food come in contact with that blood, the food will not be najis. Issue 224. Those parts of the lips and the eyes which overlap when shut will be considered as inner parts of the body, and they need not be washed when external najasat reach them. But a part of which one is not sure whether it is internal or external must be washed with water if it meets with external najasat. I mean, when you close the eye, naturally what is inside. So said if that part which is inside, if it is closed, become najis, the same rule, we said inside will be tahir by removing original impurity. The lips, all of it or part of it, which one is inside, which one is outside. So if you close the lip, so what is shown outside is outside and what is not shown is inside. So if that part got blood and then it's removed, then it will be tahir, the inside. But outside you have to wash it. If there is blood on the lips outside, naturally if you remove the blood first, but need to be washed. Why? Because it is outside. But if it is inside, then it is tahir only by removal of blood. No need to be washed. Issue 225. If najis dust settles on a cloth or carpet, but is shaken off and thereafter something wet touch that cloth, etc., that thing will not become najis. Well, if in the floor there is a dust and that dust was najis because of urine of a child or animal, and then it dried the urine, but then the dust itself is najis, and that dust may come out because it is a dry. Najasat is not transferred. We say najasat is transferred when there is wetness in between. So it is not wet, dry, no najasat. So if we remove it, then it is removed. Now if later on the place become wet, then there is no najasat. It is tahir. These are in short about these subjects, and inshallah we'll continue the rest of Mutahhiraat in the next session. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد